What's up, YouTube fans? Today, I want to take a look at the Magic Square Power King, or their version of a G2 Devastator set. So this was sent to me by Dr. Diecast. Thanks for allowing me to take a look at your set. And we have 6 bots here today, and just to make this review not hours and hours long, I am going to avoid the transformations on camera. This is ideally, in theory, the second set of these we've gotten, so I'm sure there's plenty of reviews out there with transformations if you need them. Specifically, my buddy Memo out there, and I think Kato has done some of these. They're big Magic Square fans, so I'm going to leave it up to them for transformations this time, but I'm just going to go over the sets, each mode. So we'll start off with robot mode here, and we're going to go individually through each one. Alright, so let's start out with Shovel Master here, or their version of Scrapper. And I am going to go kind of in order of legs, torso, body, chest, and then arms. So this guy makes up one of the legs. And we'll come in a little bit tighter. You can see you got some gray and dark gray paint there, a little bit of red there. Yellow stripe here, some black and gray paint here. I think the thighs are painted in that gray. And then you got the construction stripe here with a little bit of yellow and black. It's really small, but nice little detail. Nothing on the back. You got a little bit of gray paint here on the back of the arms, which we'll see probably in vehicle mode. But that's really it for paint. All of them are generally pretty light on paint. I do have the guns in there. They're really hard to tell them apart, so I just figured them all out and then put them in their hands. So throughout the review, you'll see that they already have the guns in their hands. But as far as articulation, you do get an alternate head for this guy. I'm not sure why you only get it for this guy, but if you prefer, there is the alternate head. It is ever so slightly different. It's basically a slightly thinner box around it. So if you want that head, you can use that. Speaking of the head is on a ball joint, so you get a little bit up and down. Not much side to side. It does rotate around. Shoulders are around on this joint, out to the side on a hinge. That is on a pin. Everything is friction, by the way, as you'd expect on Legends. Rotation at the bicep. Double jointed elbow gets you the full bend. Do it on this side so you can see it. It is interesting that they worked in a double joint here. I wasn't expecting a double joint, but it's there. Rotation at the wrist. You have rotation at the waist. If you bring the hip skirts out, and also, by the way, you have an ab crunch, which, again, that's pretty interesting. They worked that in there, You don't usually get that. This is a single hip skirt, which is not my favorite, but that allows the legs to go up to there, back to there, out to the side, rotation at the thigh. This wheel is supposed to be plugged in here. It loves to come loose. Just very irritating thing there, but you get a double jointed knee, which works well, and then you get ankle tilt, ankle pivot, back and forth, toe tilt, heel tilt, pretty much everything, so you can do a walking pose with that. But yeah, this thing is just a super irritating thing for the articulation. There are some panels that start to come apart on you as you mess with him, so you do have to be careful. And that's generally true across the board. Some of them are just loose fit. It's not like a tight fit. But there you go for articulation. For his weapon, you get that little black plastic gun. They're all black plastic, but sculpted differently. And that looks fine. All right, next we'll take a look at Roller Master, or their version of Mix Master. And he's got a little bit of paint here. You got the red there, a little bit of gray. The face has got the silver with the red eyes. And that is about it. I don't think there's any other paint on him. We do get some nice articulation. It's hard to get to the head, but the head does rotate. It actually goes up and down, believe it or not, even though it's inside of here. It tends to come apart right here at the shoulder, so you just kind of got to keep putting those back in. For the arms, you can rotate around. Same kind of hinge, but it really likes to come apart here. But out to the side on a hinge. You have rotation at the elbow or at the bicep. Double jointed elbow, but just due to the sculpt, it's a little bit limited. Rotation at the wrist. You have a rotation at the waist think, is there an ab crunch on this one? Yeah, I don't think there's an ab crunch on this one. The legs, same thing. You got a single hip skirt, which I don't love, but the legs go up to there, back to there, out to the side, but not really. You can kind of get this out of the way. It does go up, but it's just hindered the way it's designed. And then if you unpeg this front hip skirt, it actually loosens this. So it's a very strange choice for the engineering there. Continuing down, you have a double jointed knee. And again, the leg starts coming apart here. And you can see this one is somewhat frustrating. You have a rotation at the thigh. What is that? It looks like a mushroom peg. You have an ankle tilt, forward and backward tilt, and then a toe tilt. And like I mentioned, that loves to come apart. Here is his blaster. Again, done in black plastic. That will fit in his hand. And looks good. All right, and we also get a replacement barrel. So if you don't like the look of this, it is a little bit big, but you can take this off. You can just unpeg it from here. There's two pegs down here that tab into there. And you can take this one, and that'll peg in right here. And then this peg goes down here. So if you prefer, you can have kind of the smaller profile. I don't know. I think I prefer the bigger one, but you have that option if you want it. All right, now let's take a look at Loadmaster, or their version of Long Haul. And he does have a little bit of paint. You got silver with red for the visor, silver for the headlights here, some gray all along, which we'll see more in the vehicle mode, red and purple here on the knees. I believe the arms are painted in a flat black or matte black. Hard to tell, but it does feel like that. Here's the back, and we'll see more paint in the vehicle mode. For articulation, the head is on a ball joint. This one, just due to the sculpt, the head goes all the way up, down, rotates around. The shoulders rotate around on this joint, upwards on a hinge. You have a rotation at the bicep. Single jointed elbow gets you past 90 degrees, so that's pretty good. Rotation at the wrist. You have a waist rotation. The hip skirt will go up. You can get the leg up to there, back to there, out to the side. And because of the way this hinges down, you can get an ab crunch on it. But there's also an ab crunch up here. So anyway, you have a double jointed knee, so you get the full bend, even though it's such a wonky knee. It works. It works. You can do it. You get ankle tilt. You have no pivot back and forth. So this is the only one where it's got just a tilt. But here you go for articulation. There's his blaster. Again, just black plastic. Looks good. All right, next we have Crane Master, or their version of Hook. And again, he's got the silver with red eyes. A little bit of gray paint here. I think these thighs and shins are painted in gray over yellow plastic. A little bit of black paint here for the faux wheels on the arms. Here's the back. We'll see a little bit of more paint in the vehicle mode. As far as articulation, the head is on a ball joint. Again, because of the sculpt, you get it way back. It does rotate, and you get a little bit of side to side. Shoulders rotate around on this joint. They're a little bit on the loose side. It's this panel here. You get a butterfly joint out of it, but it's a little bit loose. It goes up to here on a hinge. You have a rotation at a cut joint on the bicep. You have a single jointed elbow, but it gets you past 90 degrees. You have a rotation at the wrist. Coming out of the waist, you have a rotation here. The hook can get in the way a little bit. You can just bend it back, and that'll get it out of the way. You have an ab crunch here. I don't know. It's weird how it works. I'm not exactly sure if it's an ab crunch or not. It doesn't feel... Maybe it's not. Yeah, I don't think there's an ab crunch there. That's for transformation. So we'll move on. You have a single hip skirt here on the front. Legs go up to there. Back to here, again, hindered by the design on the legs. You can get that hip skirt out of the way. Out to the side, again, that little problem. This is another one of those examples. It's supposed to plug in here, but it's so loose, it just doesn't hold. So it often will come apart there when you don't want it to. Knees have a single jointed knee, 90 degrees. Ankle tilt, I think you just get it till you don't get a pivot back and forth. There's his gun, again, black plastic, nice sculpt. Next we have Excavator Master, or their version of Scavenger. And if you haven't noticed already, their names are all masters of something. He's a master of excavating. Anyway, his shovel comes separate, so you do have to attach it. So you can just slide it down into this mushroom peg here. And there you go. And then you can fold this down. You can kind of store it however you like, but that does go back there. And now we have the complete Scavenger. You got, again, silver with red for the eyes, silver paint, or gray paint here for the front. It tends to come apart right here. It doesn't lock in place, so you just want that folded all the way down. As far as the rest, there's pretty much no paint. Here's the back. You got a little bit of gray paint, which we'll see in the vehicle mode. I think cartoon-wise, it should be down like this, but I've always liked to fold it up just to get it out of the way. He is definitely the weakest as far as just holding together, but let's go over his articulation. The head is on a ball joint, gets up to there, down to there, rotates all the way around, and it's really the legs. These ball joints are just a pain. Shoulders rotate around on a ball joint, out to the side on the ball joint. You have a rotation at the bicep. Double jointed elbow gets you the full bend. Rotation at the wrist. You have an ab crunch, gets you all the way down there, but unfortunately a reverse ab crunch, which you don't want, and it just, you can't lock it in. The hip skirt will get out of the way. This whole thing is a mess, but out to there, back to there, out to the side. Again, you've got that same problem where this just does not want to lock in place. The whole bottom part just comes loose. It's supposed to lock in place, but it doesn't. You have a rotation at the thigh on a ball joint, and I think they could have done better than a ball joint there, but you have a double jointed knee, which is unexpected for this type of this design here. So that's good. Ankle tilt, and you have a pivot just because it's on a ball joint, and a rotation because it's on a ball joint. And you do get his weapon there. That looks nice. It's got a little sight on it. All right, and last but not least, we have Bulldozer Master, or their version of Bone Crusher. And I always forget his name, so I had to look it up. For whatever reason, I just forget his name. But he's got some paint on him as well. You got the silver with the red for the face. Red and purple right here. And that's about it. This is pretty plain. His legs do work the same way, so he's got a similar design as the previous one. But head is on a ball joint, gets you up to there. Down to there, rotates around. And the arms rotate around on a ball joint out to the side. Yeah, rotation at the waist, ab crunch here. Again, same thing. It's got the same design. You can go backwards, forwards. And I just wish I had a locking point for the forward one. If you get this hip skirt out of the way, pretty ugly, but it does get you down to there. Same thing. This doesn't lock in place, so you end up folding the whole thing instead of folding at the hip. I don't know. I just don't love the design there. Rotation at the thigh around a ball joint. He tends to get loose in this direction just due to the way it's designed. But you have a double jointed knee, same as the other one. And then we get a ankle tilt and a rotation and up and down on that ball joint. There's his blaster. You got a little sight on it. Nice looking gun. And for a quick size comparison, there they are next to the New Age Optimus Prime and their Jetfire. You can see they're about the same height as Optimus, maybe a little bit shorter on some of them. So they fit in nicely with the Legend scale. So now we're going to get these guys transformed into their vehicle modes. Like I mentioned earlier, it's going to take too much time to show those on camera, so we'll get that transformed off camera. I'll be right back. Alright, there they are in their vehicle modes. And let me tell you, these are not fun to transform. A lot of them just have parts that feel like they're not really designed to move. But anyway, let's go over each one of them individually. Shout out to Memo for his transformation videos. Definitely helped me out here, but let's get into these. Alright, starting off with Shovel Master, or their version of Scrapper. See, it does have nice painted wheels. I think they all have painted wheels. A little bit of that gray paint there for these intakes. Nice big shovel. It does look good, but there are definitely some issues. These wheels don't like to peg in properly. You can lift this up and move the shovel so you can kind of actually articulate it. It does roll on the wheels, although one of the wheels doesn't plug in. This doesn't seem to lock in place all that well. It does look nice, but it just doesn't have a locking point. Well, yeah, there's a little bit of gray paint here too. All right, now let's take a look at Roller Master, or their McMaster. Same thing, gray silver wheels, gray silver lights up here, translucent purple for glass, and then painted black for the side. It doesn't really roll. It's just not perfectly straight. The barrel doesn't roll, in case you're wondering, but looks pretty good. Just functionality wise, it doesn't have much. Next we have Loadmaster, or Long Haul. Silver painted wheels, nice silver for the headlights and these lights over here, black for the windows. It does roll. It is a very annoying transformation. A lot of bits and panels that have to plug in, and almost, to the point where you don't really want to do it more than once. But it does look okay. It doesn't have any functionality, but it does roll at least. All right, next we have the Crane Master, or Hook. It's got some nice painted black windows, silver for the front grille with silver lights, a little bit of purple paint here along the crane, gray plastic here for the hook. The hook does have some functionality, so it can collapse down, it can extend out, you can bend this here, and you can bend the hook, so that's kind of neat. It does roll on the wheels, not too bad. Oh, and this does rotate as well. All right, next we have Bulldozer Master, and really plain. You got a little bit of purple here for the intakes, but that's about it. There's not really any other detail. You can move the shovel a little bit, but there are no wheels. It doesn't even have wheels, so you can't roll it. Pretty much no functionality other than that or that. All right, next we have Excavator Master, or their version of Scavenger. And he has black paint here for the window, no wheels on the bottom. There's the back. You can rotate this up and down. You can rotate here, and then you can rotate at the shovel. So it does have some nice articulation. This is just on a mushroom peg. It seems like you should be able to rotate it, but if you rotate it, it comes off, so you can't really rotate it. But it does seem to work well, at least for posing. So there you go. All right, now we'll get these guys transformed into their combined mode, and I will show you a little bit how they go together, but I'm not going to show the transformations into combined mode. All right, now it's time to get him transformed into combined mode. So let's get him set up. We'll start with the legs, which are relatively easy. This is the configuration you want for, I think it's Shovel Master is their name. You want these arms kind of angled back, and then you want this locked in place right here. It is pretty solid, this one. You're going to open this up. You can see there's a little peg right here. That's going to fit right in between. And once you get it in one side, go ahead and squeeze it together. Right. Same on this side. Basically, open up right here between the barrel. Slide this back into this groove. It is a nice tight fit. And then put this on here just to kind of lock it in place. There's a slot to slide it in, and it's kind of tricky to see, but it's right there. So you're going to slide this forward into that slot. And it's hard to show you, but it looks like that. It does fit firmly in there. Once you get that in there, you bring this down. And this is going to plug into his back. So there's two tabs right here, here and here. And these two tabs are going to go in and plug into there. There's two slots, one here and one here. They're going to fit into these two pegs on the top. So go ahead and and you do want the arms prepped ahead of time because you don't want to do this after you get it on there. So make sure you open up this tab spot and this tab spot. This one you actually basically have to untransform this whole side in order to open this up. And then we're going to push it all back in when we're done. But for now, we can do this. Okay, we got it. That took a lot of pressing. So go ahead and open up the connector port, which is on the inside. You might need a spudger, but it looks like this. This is going to slide into here. And by the way, this is configured relatively easily. So just push the crane piece back, configure it however you want to. This is going to slide down into here. So there's a top triangular groove that's going to go into the yellow. And then the bottom groove is going to go into the black. So make sure you line that up, get both in. And that's a very secure connection there. And then this is going to slide into here. So slide that forward into that connection. Now we got to reclose all this up. So you're going to close this, and then you're going to close this down on top. And that holds it all in place. Then you're going to take the arm and push it back in because remember we removed it all to even access all that. All right, now we can take care of this elbow and the hand. So go ahead and bend here at the lower elbow, not the upper one. And that's the upper one, so make sure you get this piece out. You can open up this panel here. You need to bend the elbow in order to remove this hand. All right, it's a very tight fit. Close that back up. You can bring that arm down. All right, now we'll take care of the other arm. So go ahead and grab this guy here. Open up the back so that you can slide the elbow piece down, or the arm piece. Slide that in and then close that back up. Then we're going to open up the inner joint here. And again, I mentioned the spudger will help. Looks like that. This is going to slide forward into groove right here. So get that lined up, fold that in, and then you're going to fold down this canopy. Ooh. Talk about that a little later. And I forgot to mention one thing. After we're done here, you're going to fold this down and tab this in. Then on the front, you're going to take this panel and push that down. That'll hold that from popping out. It's supposed to anyway. All right, now we'll take care of the chest plate. And this is actually pretty frustrating and tough to do without making it come all apart. But there's 3 tabs, one big one here, 2 small ones here. The small ones are going to go into these 2 slots. Big one's going to go into this slot. And there's nowhere to really hold on to it. That's kind of the problem. So as you're pushing it on, you really got to be careful where you're holding. So I recommend holding down here to get a little bit of leverage. Otherwise, you'll start taking things apart. But push into the bottom one first, then come to the top and try to line them up best as you can. And this is going to tab in. There's a tab right here on the bottom. It's going to tab into the bottom of this. So get that pegged in. And just be careful not to unpeg a bunch of other stuff while you're doing it. Same on this side. Get this up and under. And tabbed into the side. There's a little slot right here on the side of this. It's going to tab into there. All right, last step here. Take the head. That's going to fit down into here. So there's a little groove that's going to go in between here. This puzzle piece is going to fit into this slot. And then this tab is going to go into the back. So get those all lined up. All right, and finally there is Power King in his combined mode. And I do have to be honest, although it looks pretty darn good, what a nightmare getting here. So many issues, little things popping out, tabs not staying. Everything's friction fit, so there's not really any locking mechanisms. So as you're doing one thing, another thing pops out. It's just a frustrating experience. But let's take a look at him. You do have a little bit of paint on the head. So you got the silver here for the crest. You got the metallic red eyes, and then gunmetal for the face. A little bit of metallic purple here behind this translucent piece. And that's it. It's not really any other paint on this guy. But let's take a look at the articulation. The head is on a pop-up joint. You can lift it up like that. Goes down to there, up to there. Rotates all the way around. Shoulders rotate around, and I knocked it off. Friction joint there, out to the side on a friction joint. I don't know if that's a soft ratchet. And this is one of the issues I was mentioning is you just touch this and it pops off. Should have had like a lock or a pin or something that keep it in place, because this can be a very frustrating thing as you're messing with it. But out to the side, up to there, you have a rotation at the bicep. You have a double jointed elbow. Due to the sculpt, it's a little bit tough to get it, but you can get it. Rotation at the wrist. Oh. It's just so many problems. This is on a, looks like a mushroom peg, so let's get that back on there. But in theory, a rotation at the wrist, but as soon as I rotated it, popped off. So I'm not gonna rotate it anymore. Individual articulated fingers on a ball joint, they do splay out a little bit, and they have one pin, so you can get them bent. Thumb is on a ball joint and a pin as well. In theory, these, oh, they do rotate. Okay. I don't know, for whatever reason, it came off the first time. You have a rotation here at the waist. I think you have an ab crunch. Yes, you do. So there's an ab crunch right there, which you can get up and over. But he's way too heavy, can't hold his weight. These joints in the legs fail first, just due to weight. So you really can't put any weight forward. All right, continuing down, you do have that ab crunch I mentioned, but good luck using it. For the legs, you have hip skirts on these two sides. Leg can kick up to there, but this joint is loose. It is on a screw. I tried tightening it, didn't seem to help, but you can kick the leg way up if you use that other joint, or if you use this ratchet joint, it gets up to there, back to there. I'm going to leave that off. Out to the side. You have a drop-down joint here, but that's really to change the stuff out. You have a double jointed knee, gets to the full bend, but things will start coming off on you. You have ankle tilt here and here as well, and that came apart. But there you go for articulation. Now we do get some swap out parts here. You can open up these hip skirts just to get them out of the way. There's supposed to be a slide in piece right here, and you can see what it looks like over here. So you're supposed to be able to slide that piece out, and then you can remove this piece. So it looks like that. So if you want that look, you can have that. I'm actually going to take this one off so I can show you. And then you can go a step further. If you slide down this hip, pull off this yellow piece here, you can grab what looks like this. This is the kneecap. So this is going to go right into here and just peg in right down here. It's a different look. Then you're going to take this piece here. This is going to go where we took out the other one. And you're trying to get this notch into here. So line that up. And then slide that back down. And that's what it looks like. So let me get the other side on there. All right, there it is with both hips and knee pieces. I do think this looks a little bit cleaner and better, but nice to have the choice there. This is painted in silver, by the way, so there's a little bit of paint there. We also get an alternate waist piece, so if you want this painted look, and again, if you're going for G2, Might as well go for more paint, more looks. So you can see there's this tab there. Just get that tabbed in. Give that a firm push, and now you have that look. And again, I'm always a fan of more paint, more detail, so that looks nice. You also get these. So if you want, you can use the drills. So to use that, you're going to bend at the elbow, the lower elbow. Open up this tab. Make sure the hands are folded all the way down, and flip this over. Close up that panel. Get this, plug that into here, and now you got that drill bit. And that's pretty cool. You have that option as well. And of course, he wouldn't be Devastator out of this gun. Here's his blaster. You can get that into here, and he can hold that, although it does make him front heavy, so you have to rebalance him, but nice looking gun there. All right, and there it is with the Helionix standee here. And you can see it's actually a little bit taller than Devastator, but that looks really good. And then here it is with their Magic Square version of Hound, so you can pretend like he's creating the hologram. Really kind of neat that they made this nice display piece for your collection. And for some size comparisons, there it is next to the New Age version of Skyfire and their version of Optimus. You can see he towers over them about the right height. The leg is about the height up to the knee of Optimus here. So it makes sense as far as scale. So final recommendations on the Magic Square Power King. I'm going to give this a 3 out of 5. I'm going to give it a partial recommendation. I do think this thing looks really good in all 3 modes. Robot modes look pretty good. The vehicle modes are okay. There's a couple that aren't great, like these 2 guys here, but the rest look really on point. And then the combined mode, I think, is where it's at. It screams G2 Devastator. It's got a great sculpt, great presence. Overall details are really nice. Where this falls down is the fit and finish. And normally Magic Square, because of that nylon soft plastic, it's not really a big deal. It just feels funny, but it performs. But in this particular case, the soft plastic actually leads to a performance issue because things like to come untabbed or come undone. For example, the shovel likes to fall off. The shoulder area up here likes to come apart. The wheels that are supposed to stay tabbed in, they won't stay tabbed because they're just, they bend. Some of the leg pieces like to pop apart if you're messing with it and you're manipulating it. It's just not fun. And then on top of that, the transformation is a nightmare. And I actually didn't want to do it, so I asked Dr. Diecast if I could send this back in combined mode, and he agreed, so thank God I don't have to transform it again. But that's where I think this kind of falls down, is just not fun. Now, if you're planning to just put this on the shelf in G2 Devastator mode, which I think is its strength, and not mess with it, then I think it'll do the job. But if you're planning to play with it, mess with it, transform it, I just don't think this has the right level of quality to do that kind of stuff. But that's it for today. Thanks for watching. Thanks to Dr. Diecast for sending us for review, and we'll see you next time.